Detroit's a mess, but Detroit's not the only one that is experiencing this. I mean, yeah, of course, you're seeing um, you're seeing these towns. For example, any town built around the steel industry, and John King, you know this firsthand, decimated, absolutely decimated uh, by people, by these manufacturers moving their operations overseas. And it's kind of funny. I don't know if I told you this story before, John, but back in 2005, I had the opportunity. It was either move to Long Island and live there, or there was another place, and it was in Pennsylvania, and it was to work at the Armstrong cabinet plant, and I would have ran one of the shifts on the on the over there at the cabinet plant. But the problem that I ran into was, and it was great because I was looking at houses like, holy crap, man, like big 4-bedroom Victorian for like $69,000 on all this land. I'm like, this is just too damn good to be true. This is crazy, you know. And so I interviewed for the position, and I was offered it, but I accepted the one in Long Island because there's just more opportunity should that job fall through. That, you know, I've got something else to fall on, and then you can always make a living up in New York if you hustle, you know. Now the difference between that and it was Thompsontown, Pennsylvania. The difference between that was it in Thompsontown. That whole town was built around that Armstrong plant. And wouldn't you know it, 3 months later, 3 months after I took the job and moved to New York, that Armstrong actually declared bankruptcy. And then not soon after, they shut that plant down. You know, and all those people there was 500 of them just out of work, and they have nothing to go to. They literally have to pack up and leave. They got to relocate. And a lot of people don't have the I don't know, it takes a level of courage to be able to pick your family up and move somewhere else, even not knowing that you may not have a job where you're going, but go to a place with more opportunity. And a lot of people don't do that. And they stay there and they wait and they wait and they wait for something to come around, but nothing's going to come around. It's just the same old song and dance. And these little towns are dying everywhere that are built around you know, these industries. So it's a sad state of affairs because we are, as a country, becoming deindustrialized, and we're losing our ability to be self-sustaining. We can still do it, but it's going to take some sacrifice. I mean, real sacrifice. People are going to have to learn to live within their means, and some really hard decisions are going to have to take place. But and that means the government too. You know, I wrote an article not too long ago called "The Great Austerity Caper," and one of the things that I did is kind of outline 8 things that you could cut out right off the bat, boom, and because of its unconstitutionality, and you'd be surprised at how much money you would actually save if, say, you know, we get out of all the countries that we have bases in, and we stop being imperialist, and we stop fighting illegal wars, and we stop having the government tell us how to educate our children, you know, and maybe
But Joe, that's not going to happen. They're not going to do that. They're deliberately bringing the country down.
I totally agree.
They're not going to change anything until we hit bottom, and the people don't have the power to do anything.
Andrew, what do you think? What's your thoughts on what we're saying so far?
Well, man, it's just like at this point, it's not going to turn around. I don't personally believe some of these politicians, yes, but I think most of them are trying to do the right thing, but they're all being bribed and bought out and whatever else, and of course, they're going to shift favor with whoever's donating the most money, so to speak. So there is no hope for it, and it is being brought in one single direction. And there's nothing that's going to stop it. And the American people aren't going to be able to stop it either, nor will react until they feel it. It's just like Egypt and everywhere else. Once it finally gets so bad that everybody can feel it, the country just erupts.
No, you're absolutely right. Folks, anybody want to chime in on the conversation tonight, the number to call is 877-598-8549. That's 877-598-8549. This is an open discussion. Anybody can call in, and I encourage you guys to call so that we can talk about all of these issues here and really, really make this a night where we can network and exchange some real information here. Because I don't know, based on some of the things that I'm seeing, I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to do it. And I mean, that's not being a fear monger or anything else. It's just strictly being a realist and looking at what's going on in the world and saying, something ain't adding up. Griff, you saw the new jobs numbers, right? Here's another joke. How they go from 9.8 to 9.0 in the span of a month. And I don't know, Griff, have you noticed 6.6 million people back to work, happy, loving life? You see things turning around? What do you think?
Well, everything I'm seeing coming out of the Obama administration have been lies. They're just lying. They have no shame whatsoever about lying to us. And everything I'm seeing is lies.
You're absolutely right. It is lies. And do you notice how it's gotten a lot worse lately? Would you say?
Well, I turned it off some time ago. I'm devoting the efforts to self and family and trying to get ready and giving a lot of thought to what needs to be addressed in the future, a year from now or 2 years or 5 years or 6 years, even 10 years from now. What will it be like? Doing some mental projection into the future. There are a lot of things that people are not thinking about. You're going to have to rebuild the society, and you're going to have to be tough enough to ignore any figure that presents himself as an authority figure in a government. Government destroyed the country at every level.
Yeah.
And if these people don't go down when the crash comes, then you will have to address that issue again, and then let the people rebuild.
Didn't you say to me today that there was, really there's never been a quote unquote democracy on the face of the planet? Never in history.
No.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. They can
Yeah.
say it's a democracy all day. They say the unemployment rate's at 9%. It's all BS. It's all bunk. And one of the people in the chat room just said, believe your eyes. Absolutely believe your eyes. Because your eyes should be telling you something. People, even the Bible talks about it too. Speaking they will not see, or speaking they will not hear, show them and they will not see. This stuff is happening right in front of their face, yet they believe the crap that comes out of the mainstream media, that comes out of the White House, and it's really, really ridiculous.
Here's another thing, Joe, to consider among the young people, and I'm not sure what I mean by young people. 20, 30 years old that have lived in the same place all of their life. If you're out there on the street in Manhattan hustling, you're old at 20 years old. It's back again to your life experiences. The more life experience you have, the better off you are. But the young people, I challenge young people listening to me right now to really consider and really try to imagine when everything stops. When you get old, try to imagine what it's like to be old. What is it like for every joint in your body to hurt when you move? And when you get down on the ground, it's hard to stand back up. Can you imagine, young people, what it's like to be like that? And I'm telling you, one day, if you're lucky, you will be like that as you get into old age. But you can't imagine what it's going to feel like. I mean, it's not in your database for you to picture what that's going to be like. The same thing with what we're talking about. You cannot imagine. You don't have the life experience or the data to know what I'm talking about when I say the country is crashing, and support systems for life will be cut off, and food supplies are in jeopardy, and transportation, and life-sustaining hospitals, availability of drugs, availability of all of this convenient stuff that maintains and supports your life, you don't have the ability to understand what it's going to be like. I could talk for another year and you still wouldn't understand. And many people, grown-ups, Joe, are like that.
Yeah, oftentimes you need a frame of reference, don't you, Andrew?
Well, yes, absolutely. And I have a question for you guys that Jeff was asking here. What is the next move for the government after they've taken the legs out from under us? What do you think?
Well, you broke up again. What was it? What's the next move after the government takes cuts the legs out from under us?
Yes, indeed. That's the question.
What do you think, Griff?
Depends on how it plays out. It just depends. We can make some educated guesses at how things will develop and the probabilities of one event over another event, but you're only going to know for sure after the fact. But it's not. I can tell you this with a degree of certainty. It's not going to be a pretty picture. Not going to be a nice picture. Consider the 30 million people in the Gulf. When that breaks loose, how is that going to impact the rest of the problems in the United States?
I know for a fact that we're heading to a time and a place that we have not seen in quite some time, maybe not ever. Maybe not ever. I mean, there was a time when the U.S. debt load was 100% of GDP right before World War II. And, we've been there before debt-wise. And soon after that, Griff, do you remember the taxes after World War II and even during World War II when the top-end tax bracket was 90%? Do you remember that?
Well, back during the Second World War, in that period, you didn't have taxes.
What did you have?
Well, you didn't have federal taxes. I remember my father was making close to $13,000 in 1940, early part of the 40s. That was an extraordinary amount of money. I'm not sure exactly what that would equal today, but that would be over $100,000 today. The average man in the 30s and the early 40s, he was making, if he had a good job, he was making $2,000. That was a good salary.
Right. No, I totally agree.
No tax. Yeah, no tax. But you see, even the monetary system is bogus, and I am still of the opinion that it's important to realize that there are no dollars. If you buy into that and start saying that the money is $1 or $10 or $100 or we owe so many dollars, that's wrong because they're not dollars. And that is a real mind twist. It's hard to keep your mind on the straight road because nothing starts making sense after that. After you realize you don't have a dollar. No. Don't you see that, Joe?
Absolutely, I sure do. And when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. This is fascinating. Dean and Jim, stay on the line. We'll get to your phone calls when we come back from break. Stay tuned. This is Freedomlink Radio on the Intel Hub News Network.
Are you still paying your credit cards and so-called bank loans thinking that you owe the money? Do you feel like it's your moral obligation but can't see an end in sight? Well, what if I told you that in truth, you don't owe a single penny, and that the banks know this and hope you don't find out? Here's where we come in. Free2Prosper.com specializes in a profound debt repudiation method which challenges the validity of your so-called debts, morally frees you from the burdens, and protects your property. Our system is often superior to settlement, bankruptcy, or consolidation, which often leave you in a worse situation. If you feel the moral obligation to take care of yourself and your family, then I urge you to consider taking action right now. The economy will not wait. If you want to know more so you can prosper through the economic collapse, all while staying honorable and true to yourself, then call 877-417-8393. That's 877-417-8393. Or visit Free2Prosper.com right now.
Hey, it's me, Shepard, the host of the Intel Hub. Check out my live show every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can check it out